The morning light filtered through the tall windows of Corner Ground's coffee shop, casting warm patterns across the worn wooden floor. Michael Henderson stood in line, his work boots scuffed from another long week at the construction site. At 42, the lines around his eyes told stories of early mornings and late nights, of raising his daughter Emma alone since his wife passed 5 years ago. He noticed a young woman ahead of him fumbling through her purse, her shoulders tensing with each passing second. She wore professional attire, a crisp white blouse and dark skirt, her long blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail. She couldn't have been more than 25. "I'm so sorry," she said to the barista, her voice wavering slightly. "My card. It's being declined." "I don't understand." The line behind them was growing. Michael could feel the impatience building, hear the subtle sighs and shuffling feet. He remembered that feeling, that awful moment of embarrassment when things don't go as planned. Without thinking twice, he stepped forward. "I've got this," he said gently, pulling out his wallet. "We all have those days." The young woman turned, her eyes glistening. "No, I couldn't possibly." "Please," Michael said with a warm smile. "It's just coffee." "Consider it a kindness from one human to another." She studied his face for a moment, seeing only genuine concern. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means to me right now." Michael paid for both their orders. As they waited by the counter, she introduced herself as Rachel Morrison. They talked briefly about the unseasonably cool weather, about the neighborhood. She mentioned she was starting something new, a fresh chapter after some difficult times. He shared that he understood new beginnings, raising his daughter on his own, finding joy in the simple things. "Your daughter is lucky to have you," Rachel said softly as their drinks arrived. "I'm the lucky one," Michael replied. "She teaches me something new every day." They parted ways with a simple goodbye, and Michael thought nothing more of it. Life moved forward as it always did. He went to work, came home to Emma, helped her with homework, made dinner, and tucked her in at night. The interaction at the coffee shop became just another small moment in the tapestry of daily life. 3 weeks later, Michael received a call at the construction site. His foreman, usually gruff and businesslike, looked puzzled. "There's someone from Morrison Development Group asking for you." "Something about a meeting?" Michael's heart sank. Morrison Development Group was the massive company that owned half the commercial properties in the city. Had he somehow damaged something on the job? Were they being sued? He arrived at their downtown headquarters that afternoon, still in his work clothes, feeling completely out of place among the marble floors and glass walls. The receptionist smiled warmly and directed him to the top floor. When the elevator doors opened, Rachel Morrison stood there waiting, but she looked different. More composed, confident, wearing a tailored suit. Behind her, a plaque on the wall read "Rachel Morrison, Chief Executive Officer." Michael's jaw dropped. You're the CEO?" Rachel's eyes crinkled with warmth. "I am. And I need to tell you something. That morning at the coffee shop, I wasn't having a card problem. I was having a life problem." She gestured for him to follow her into her office, which overlooked the entire city. 6 months ago, I walked away from my father's company after a falling out. I was determined to prove I could make it on my own, to show that I wasn't just someone who inherited success. I started from nothing, working 16-hour days, sleeping on a friend's couch. Michael listened, trying to process this revelation. That morning, I just closed my first major deal, the one that would secure my own company's future. But I'd forgotten to transfer money to my personal account. Such a stupid thing. And standing there, card declining in front of all those people, I felt like an imposter. Like maybe everyone was right about me. She paused, her voice catching slightly. "Then you stepped in. You didn't know who I was. You didn't want anything from me. You just saw another person having a hard moment, and you helped. No judgment. No expectations. Just kindness." Rachel walked to her desk and picked up a folder. "Michael, I've been watching the construction on our Riverside project. Your foreman says you're the best carpenter he's ever worked with. More importantly, he says you're the kind of man who stays late to teach younger workers, who checks on his crew's families, who leads by example." She handed him the folder. "I'm expanding Morrison Development Group's community housing initiative. We're building affordable homes for working families, single parents, people who need a hand up." not a handout. I want you to lead the carpentry team. It's a significant raise, better hours so you can be home with Emma more, and benefits that include full coverage for her college education." Michael stared at the papers, his hands trembling slightly. "Rachel, I don't know what to say." "Say yes," she smiled. "This isn't charity, Michael. This is me recognizing quality, recognizing character." That morning, you reminded me why I wanted to build my own company in the first place. Not for money or power, but to create something that helps people, that builds communities. I need people around me who share those values. Over the following months, Michael discovered that Rachel's commitment went far beyond words. The housing project employed local workers, provided training programs, and created partnerships with schools. Ma, now 17, even started an internship in the company's architectural department. One Saturday afternoon, Rachel stopped by one of the construction sites where Michael was working. They'd become genuine friends, occasionally meeting for coffee at corner grounds, where it all began. "You know," Michael said as they surveyed the nearly completed homes, "I spent years thinking that good things had passed me by. After my wife died, I thought my job was just to survive, to get Emma raised, and that would be enough." "And now?" Rachel asked. "Now I realize that kindness isn't just something we give. It comes back around, sometimes in ways we never expect." "You changed my life that day, but not because of this job. You reminded me that everyone's fighting battles we can't see." That young mother in Unit 3, working 2 jobs, I see her differently now. That teenage kid who messed up the measurements, I'm more patient, because someone was patient with me when I needed it. Rachel nodded, her eyes distant. "My father called last week. He's been following the company's progress. We're talking again, slowly rebuilding. I think I needed to fail, to be vulnerable, to understand that success isn't about never falling down. It's about who helps you back up, and who you help in return." As the sun set behind the skeletal frames of homes not yet completed, they stood together in comfortable silence. These buildings would house families, shelter dreams, provide the foundation for new beginnings. But more than that, they represented something both Rachel and Michael had learned through an unexpected encounter over a declined credit card. That kindness isn't weakness, vulnerability isn't failure, and sometimes, the smallest gestures create the biggest changes. Michael thought about telling Emma this story someday, when she was older and facing her own challenges. He'd tell her about the morning when he had $8.50 in his pocket, and he used it to buy coffee for a stranger. He'd tell her how that simple act came back to him in ways he never imagined. But mostly, he'd tell her that the real gift wasn't the job or the opportunities. It was the reminder that we're all connected, all struggling, all doing our best, and that in those moments when we choose compassion over judgment, kindness over indifference, we change more than someone else's day. We change who we are.